Greetings! In this video, I am going to go through my process of creating characters. Now, for the past few years, I've been working through illustrating the Illustrated Institutes, John Calvin's Illustrated Institutes, as a graphic novel. So this is the project I'm currently working on. Book 2. You can see there's book 1 right there, so we've got book 2 in the works, but I want to show you how I develop the characters, my methods. This is kind of a how-to video, but it's really just like how I do it. I don't follow, there's so many different methods of creating characters. Everyone creates them differently, each artist does, and this is just my method. So follow along if you want to. I'm just going to be using a sketchbook and a pencil. So go grab a sheet of copy paper or scrap paper that you have lying around, and we're just going to get into this, and I'll show you my process. All right, so I have my sketchbook, I have my pencil. It doesn't really matter what type of pencil you're using, but this is the one I use. It's a Statler Essentials. You can get like a big pack of them for pretty cheap. So the first thing I do when I'm creating a character, so the character we're going to be working on today is John Calvin. John Calvin is one of the Protestant reformers of the church in the 1500s, and we're going to go through my process of how I develop him as a character. The first thing I do when developing characters is figure out a shape for the head. You can go through various tutorials of different shapes to do for heads. You've got a circle, square. Just think of all the different shapes that there are. There's triangles, and you can basically make a head out of it somehow. So we're gonna start with Calvin. He's got a pointy beard, so that's a triangle. That's gonna work into our structure a little bit here. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna create a circle. I always start with a circle, no matter, well, I shouldn't say no matter, but most of the time I'm going to start with a circle on the head, and I'm going to build out from there. The circle is basically the skull, how it goes into the back of the head. So this is like a side view, and then you've got the jaw part coming into the skull here. So the circle is basically this part, the top part of the head. So this is a side view. So the eyes would be right here. But I'm going to start with a circle. And then for Calvin, I'm going to build down into his triangle beard. And I'm keeping it rough because these are not my final lines. I can use this as a study and not just like some final magnificent piece of artwork that I'm going to frame on the wall. But this is really just a study in how to work through characters. I'm going to draw through things as well. For the body, I have a bean shape that I usually do for the bodies. So it's kind of like this. So you think of like a bean, like a lima bean or something like that, kidney bean, like a kidney shape basically. And I'll put it like a center line going through it. So this is like a 3/4 view facing like that way. 3/4 view. So I'm going to go around like the curve of the shape. The form, I should say, because these are shapes. These are just flat shapes, but then we're turning it into a form that actually has depth and dimension to it. So with Calvin, I'm going to do kind of a more like a skinnier bean. So his chest up here, you can kind of split it into two sections here. You've got the top half, the upper torso, and the lower torso. So this would be like his butt right there, his belly, and his chest, and his back, and his shoulders. Okay, so that's really the that's really the kind of the basis for my character here. I'm going to turn a light on just a minute. So we have our form here. Now, what I do is I do little circles for where the shoulders are. And then I'll do like a stick arms going out. Let's have him kind of waving so we can draw a hand. And this one will be like a fist on his hip. Okay, so I'll do another circle for his hand. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just getting the structure. Okay, now I'm gonna have him standing. So I give him very bendy legs is what I start out with. And then I add the kind of the details later. This helps give motion to it when I'm drawing very bendy shapes like this. Okay, so let's look at what shapes we have so far. We have a circle, we have a triangle. We actually kind of have two squares, or you can call them two half circles. We've got some circles here. I did some triangles for his feet, and these would be like rectangles for his arms. So you can see that everything that I'm doing has a basis of shape to it, of some sort of shape to it, whether it's circle, square, rectangle, triangle. And that's true for any character that I'm going to create. So his hand, actually you can break that down into a triangle and a square. Okay, and then each of his fingers would be a rectangle. Okay, so I don't ever actually, while I'm drawing, I don't ever go through all these rules. But in order to show you how I think about it, I'm basically slowing down. All of this stuff happens in my mind in like a split second. It just happens as I'm drawing, just because I've done it for so long. But for someone who's just starting out, it takes some thinking. It takes some practice to think in this way, in terms of shapes. So I have my basic shapes. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to lightly erase everything. Now don't worry if it gets all messed up. I'm doing this. So typically what I would do is I would just start inking right over that with my ink brush. But for this purpose, I want to show you how I develop the details based on this form. Okay? And this is just a sketchbook, so this is a study. That's why it doesn't have to be perfect. That's why it can be messy like this. Don't worry about being messy in your sketchbook. Your sketchbook is really just a study book. So it's filled with your different drawings that you are studying. So what I'm going to do is, so I drew these lines over top of the head. Those were my mapping lines. So if you think of a map or a globe, they have lines. They're latitude and longitude lines. That's basically what these are. They go around the form of the head or the body or the arms. So everything has these lines to it, or can have these lines to it, and they just help you map things onto it. So for example, I have this going down the center of the head and then coming around the center horizontally. So the horizontal one is where I place the eyes. Okay, and that's how I come up with the eyes. Now noses, if you look at someone's noses, it's helpful to look at someone in real life. So his nose is a triangle. If you see, he's got a triangle nose. So that's what we're gonna do. He has a triangle nose, and he also has triangle mustache. Okay, and then his beard comes down. We can actually fill that in because that is going to be the final shape, basically. Okay, but he has a hat on. Now, when we're dealing with clothes and anything that overlaps the character's body, you're going to have you want it to look like it's actually sitting on him. So we have this overlap going on. Now what I do for his hat is I'll just draw an ellipse kind of around his head like that, and I will actually draw it, the whole thing going right through his head. You want to draw through your sketch, because if I were to just draw up to the line where it goes, so like if I did that and this, I mean this is kind of going down, so I would have to readjust it to go up like that in order to actually meet over there. So if you're drawing through, you're seeing where the lines actually meet each other on the other side, because these lines go around the head to meet in the back. Okay, so I'm gonna draw darker lines for the front, and I'm just gonna do a little flip up like that, and then this is where it kind of sits on his head. Another somewhat of a rounded triangle shape. Actually, it's just gonna go over like this because we're looking down, kind of looking down on him a little bit. Okay, and then he has these ear flaps that come and cover the side of his head a little bit. So his beard goes up probably around his ears, which are going to be right in there, right in that area. But then it's going to come down on his cheeks and meet right there. Okay? But he's missing something. Eyebrows. So eyebrows help give characters their expressions. We'll give him a silly expression here. Okay, so I have the body drawn right here. So what I'm going to do is draw the clothes on him. So he's wearing a vest. You can see, but it's mostly hidden by his beard. So we're just going to separate his body like this. His vest. And you just think about, at this point, you just think about what things look like, what different articles of clothing look like, how they bend over the body. And he's also wearing, what are these called? Knickers? I'm not sure what those are called. Some sort of pants that just go right over his knees. And his legs come out the end. They're kind of almost, they're rectangles, but they're almost triangle shaped. because if you look at your legs, they're wider up closer to the knees, and then they get skinnier down by the ankles. And for my characters, I like to over exaggerate the skinniness of it. So, okay, and then we've got his shoes. So the way I draw his shoes, they're kind of big at the end, kind of skinny up by the ankle. His heel. Same with this. It's like, this is another one of those ellipse things. They're sitting inside here. Comes down at a triangle. And then his foot is basically a few triangles put together. But you look at the shape that this contour of a shoe makes, and it kind of goes, kind of goes in at the inside of the foot, and then out a little bit. Kind of like that. Okay, so now, we're drawing him, I'm getting him drawn without his robe, but since he has a robe, and I don't actually have to draw his sleeves or anything, I'm going to, he has this fur lining that comes around the outer edge of his, what is it, a robe, jacket. So I'm going to kind of draw through here, figure out where this is gonna be, and I'm gonna stop it right there. So you have control over where you want it to go. So you want it to go behind this leg, or do you want to go in front of this leg? I want it to go in front of the leg. Okay. So there's that. Then he has shoulders. So we're going to draw his shoulders, but since he's lifting his arm like this, I'm actually going to, I think I drew that one too high. So it's okay to erase. Don't worry about that. So his shoulders should kind of line up a little bit. So if he's raising his arm, the side's going to be higher. And I'm actually going to redraw this because I don't think... So this is how I typically would draw it. Maybe I should go through, maybe at the end of this video, I will go through and draw this kind of, that's a very large arm. I'll draw it how I would typically draw it, like if I just had to draw it real quick for the book. Okay, so we've kind of got his jacket on, and then you can erase all this stuff. Or if you're going to ink it, then you just follow the lines kind of as a guide, the lines that you need as a guide. Okay. So now let me go through, like, if I were to draw Calvin for a page, as a comic artist, you need to be able to draw fast, and so I've kind of been doing this so long that I kind of get into a rhythm of how I draw the characters. I have a formula for how I do these things. So let's say if I'm going to draw Calvin, hands on his hips, this is how I'm going to do it. I'm not going to go through all these little steps here, but because I kind of know the flow and know where things are supposed to land, then I can do this fairly quickly. So here in real time, so So, yep, I still mess up on spots, but this is so let's, he kind of looks like he's supposed to be scolding someone, so let's, or making a point, so let's, see, I don't draw the underlying structure because I already have an idea of how this stuff is supposed to lay, because I've already drawn 80 some pages of Calvin, and he's on every page. So this is where I would, this is the detail that I would give this if I was going to sit down and ink it. Okay, and inking it just means putting down all of the final black line art over top of the pencil drawing. Okay, so I hope this gives you a good idea of how to begin developing characters. So many characters have different shaped heads. It's usually really good to experiment with different shaped heads. So I have some characters here that have different shaped heads on them. This is just a sketch page that I had done a while back with some characters, and trying to develop a look for this character right here, which at the time was a young John Newton. Okay, and then some layouts, some more head sketches. It kind of looks like I landed on this shape of the head, and so that kind of came from developing all these different things. So hopefully that's helpful. You got your jelly bean shape. So you have an assignment if you would like to develop your skills as a character designer, and that assignment is to go and make an entire page. Let's see, let's do like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, so 3, 6, 9, 12 heads. I want you to make 12 heads, all different shapes. You make a long rectangle, an oval. You can make oval shapes, diamond shaped heads, but just have fun with it, and don't worry about making them be perfect, but just play around with developing these shapes. If this was helpful for you, I would love to hear about it in the comments. Also, if it wasn't helpful, let me know in the comments, and I'd like to know how I can improve these videos. I would like to do some more of these how-to videos, I guess you would call them, just going along and showing you my process for creating various characters and things. So I will hopefully see you around in the next video.